Open Your Eyes is brought to you by the Belize Bank. Our country, your bank.
Good morning. Welcome to Open Your Eyes.
Start your morning right. I am John Palasi.
And I'm Marlene Cuellar, and thank you for joining us this morning.
We're grateful that you actually got your morning started right with us right here on Open Your Eyes. The weather is beautiful here in the city, Marlene. Primarily, I felt, you know what, we were going to be dampened for the morning. There were some rains that fell overnight. I could tell you that much. It's evident.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's beautiful out. The sun is shining brightly here in the city, and we do hope the same in your neck of the wood, or just accept what it is because we're in a beautiful country.
All right. It is the end of June as well.
Oh, yes, it is.
Halfway, 2021, half done.
And you're totally right. The start of the hurricane season, we're actually a month in.
Yeah.
And coming up a little later on, we'll be chit-chatting with the forecasters there at the National Met Service. So tell us all about what the weather is going to be like. There are about two systems all the way off the coast of Africa. One off the coast of Africa, and one there at the Lesser Antilles, and we should be chit-chatting about those a little later on. But at the same time, you know, Marlene, the month of June seemed to have been, you wonder what one, that kind, you know, because there were a lot of things that happened in the month of June, and we continue to stay on top of those things here at Channel 5, and then provide to you the details in the evening news. Speaking of the evening news. There are so many stories coming out, here in the country, inclusive of the, I think the Corozal families are getting a closure of what occurred there in Tulum. There is a situation with the opposition party, the UDP. Yeah. There's so many things, the light situation there in the village, I think it's Otosha, one of those villages. There's so many things going on, but I think, Marlene, that the situation that's affecting all of us right now, our livelihoods, the way we're making our money, is the coronavirus situation.
Yeah.
Now that is right here, it's blatant, and the cases are rising tremendously.
Yeah, we've moved past the 200 mark. Yesterday, I think, took us to somewhere around
234, somewhere around there.
Yeah. So those are the number of active cases that we have in the country. It's interesting because, you know, in the morning I would watch international news especially, and it's their entire news cycles right now. They're kind of focusing on the spread of the Delta virus and just how critical it is. And they have a far higher vaccination rate than we do. And they're talking about the unvaccinated population and just how much they are at risk because of the high transmissibility of this particular variant. And the bigger concern too is that when you do have large outbreaks, it does cause for further mutation of the virus. And that's really one of the critical things that we don't discuss as often. So when you have outbreaks, you know, it gives the virus a chance to change even more. And that's something that we really need to be cognizant of. We are seeing more cases. We have 5 active hospitalizations, 1 in the ICU. And I think that, you know, the campaign has been one where we've talked about this a lot. And in fact, that's going to be the main focus of our conversations today. We're going to be talking about the COVID situation, the impact that we've seen so far. And so we'll be diving into it further, but we just wanted to start off giving you that update that this is where we are as of today. We should all be concerned. 200 may seem like a small number, but when you multiply that by how many people can be further infected with each individual active case, as they do contact tracing, we have to be more vigilant.
You know, and there are a lot of people who are asking, what do you think the cause of this situation is? And I would say, you know what? We're just being careless. I think that's the cause. Look, you know, all these, we've been saying it all along, that you just need to abide by the protocols. And as long as we could do that, we will not be in these types of situations whereby we're wondering, hey, is there a variant in the country? Why are there so many people getting getting infected? But it's because of us. But the vaccine rollout is out there. you know. And so
you got your second shot?
I got my second shot,
All
Marlene.
right.
I'll tell you what, and I'm being honest here. The day you guys got your second shot here in studio, I was like, oh my goodness. And I'm not somebody for needles, but I was a little jealous indeed, because I wanted to, I feel that, you know, it's my duty to make sure the people around me and the people who I love are safe. And so I continue to, you know, advocate for it.
Yeah.
But I got my second shot, and I'm feeling so accomplished. I could tell you that
Well,
much.
just remember, 2 weeks, for the next 2 weeks, you need to be extra careful so you don't get exposed to the virus for the full effectiveness to kick in. That's one of the key things. It is a great feeling to feel fully vaccinated. I say it proudly to people when I'm like, yeah, I'm fully vaccinated.
I'm fully vaccinated.
All
It's
right.
a bragging right. Actually, I feel so good about it. But
it's also, you know, we've come so far.
Yeah,
you know,
we
last
have.
year around this time, we were just coming out of a massive lockdown, an unprecedented time. None of us had experienced anything like that, where you could not leave your home. It was illegal to leave your home.
Yeah.
And here we are now with the opportunity to get the protection necessary so we can get ourselves out of this phase of the pandemic. So.
You know, I know we need to move on, but at the same time, while you're at that, you know, there are folks who are saying, but for us who've been vaccinated fully, why can't we just live that normal life? So there are questions that are out there, and you know, and these questions will definitely pose to those who'll be in with us this morning. So you want to stick with us, because we've got a great conversation coming up this morning.
That's right. We'll definitely be asking that question to the Minister of Health. But we got to get moving into some motivation for today. It's hump day. We got to get you through to the end of the week. And our eye-opener for this morning, taken from dailyom.com, goes like this. A bored mind can be the canvas upon which innovation is painted and the womb in which novelty is nourished. The human mind thrives on novelty. What was once a source of pleasure can become tedious after a time. Though our lives are full, boredom lurks around every corner because we innately long for new experiences. Yet boredom, by its very nature, is passive. In this idle state of mind, we may feel frustrated at our inability to channel our mental energy into productive or engaging tasks. Boredom can become the motivation that drives you to learn, explore the exotic, experiment, and harness the boundless creative energy within. When we are troubled by boredom, it is not that there is nothing to do, but rather that we are not stimulated by the options before us. A bored mind can be the canvas upon which innovation is painted and the womb in which novelty is nourished. When you identify boredom as a signal that you need to test your boundaries, it can be the force that presses you to strive for opportunities you thought were beyond your reach and to indulge your desire for adventure.
Oh. Now that's a very good one. And it happens to everybody, and it happens every time. But I'll tell you what, Marlene, it is during boredom that for some reason or the other, people would come around and ask you to do, or ask you to try, or ask you to let's go and see. And that is when you'd say, you know what, it's best that I do it. So boredom for a lot of people, or actually for me, is a blessing in disguise. I do understand where the eye-opener is coming from, but it is a blessing in disguise. Marlene, many times we read the eye-opener and it says, you know what, sometimes it's just good to try new things. You never know where you're going. You know when you try it? Right there within boredom. And for me, what sticks out, when we are troubled by boredom, it is not that there is nothing to do, but rather that we are not stimulated by the options before us. And options would pass by, but you need to have an open mind to accept what these options are. I'm not going to dwell too much on it, but this is great.
Yeah, that's right. No, and I think that I love when it talks about not being stimulated by the options, and I think that's kind of the classic. You hear kids saying all the time, I'm bored.
Oh,
parents get
tell me about
frustrated.
it.
It's like there's lots to do, but this is a great way to change that perspective.
Yeah,
we're going to find out now more about our weather dough, and we have Catherine Cumberbatch on the line. Good morning.
Morning, neighbor.
Good Good morning, Marlene and Jen. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. So, there are so many things that we need to look on over the past few days, especially here in the city. We noticed that the weather has been so up and down. Let's talk about the weather. Catherine, what should we expect for today and moving forward?
Okay, sure. The present situation, we have moist and unstable condition that is affecting our weather, and that will persist through the next 24 to 48 hours. As for today, we expect the skies to remain mostly cloudy with a few sunny breaks, and the high temperatures today will range from 84 along the coast to 86 inland and 80 in the hills. As for tonight, the skies will be cloudy and low temperatures will drop to 77 along the coast, 72 inland, and 66 in the hills. A few showers and thunderstorms will develop mainly over the north of the country and along coastal areas during the day. And for tonight, we expect an increase in activity again. We expect some showers, few thunderstorms, and periods of rain to affect most areas of the country tonight. And with these rain that we're having, there's a chance for localized flooding over low-lying and flood-prone areas. As for the winds will be coming out of the east or southeast at 10 to 20 knots, and the sea rates will be moderate. The outlook, as I said, for Thursday and Thursday night is for cloudy skies with some showers and thunderstorms developed over most areas during the day. Then we expect a gradual decrease in shower activity during the night into Friday.
Okay.
As for the stargazon forecast, the chance of stargazon affecting our beaches will remain high for the next few days. And in the tropical weather outlook, we have a broad area of low pressure associated with a tropical wave, which is located about midway between the west coast of Africa and the Windward Islands. And this system has there's a high chance that this system could become a tropical depression during the next few days while the system moves west-northwestward about 20 miles per hour. Elsewhere in the North Atlantic, the Caribbean Sea, and the Gulf of Mexico, no tropical cyclone formation is expected during the next 48 hours.
There's been a lot of attention, Catherine, on that broad pressure area that you spoke of. What's the projection, and what does it mean for us?
Well, the good news, because it's still very, very far away.
Yes.
But what we have right now is this system is moving west-northwestward. If it was continuing on a west track, it would be more concern for us. But I said the system is still far away, so we just have to continue to monitor the system and keep watching. Because, sometimes these systems have erratic behavior. They might be going west-northwest, and all of a sudden they keep on a west track. And when something is at that low and going in a west track, it's more for the Western Caribbean. But for right now, the system is still way out, and it is moving now at a very high speed, and it's going west-northwestward.
All right.
So all we have to do is to continue to monitor the system and stay tuned to the NMS to see what we have to share with you all.
That's right. And we know you guys stay on top of things, and you guys have our interests at heart. So
we always do.
Yes. Thank you so much for the update.
You're welcome, my dear. Have a great day, you and John.
Okay.
All right.
And stay safe.
Bye.
Bye.
Well, now we know exactly what to expect. There should be a gradual decrease in rains for tonight. That is what it says here. Then a gradual decrease during the night, and that's for the rains that we've got here and there over our country. But nonetheless, Marlene, while we've been warned, we have told you already, hinted to you that we've got some conversations lined up for you this morning. As a matter of fact, in the first conversation, we'll be chit-chatting with ministers of tourism and health, and they'll be providing us with an update on the rise in COVID cases across the country. So this is definitely one of those conversations you want to stick around for.
That's right. So the first part of the show, we're going to be talking and putting into focus the situation that we're facing with the rise in COVID cases. But they're going to stick around because a big part of the conversation for today is the launch of a brand new campaign for people to get vaccinated. And that means rolling out a whole bunch of incentives. That's right, you get a prize for getting vaccinated, or the opportunity for a prize. So we're going to tell you all the details about that. Both ministers will stay with us, and we'll also have the chairman of BTL joining us to tell us all the details there.
Definitely. And there's a physical discipline sport that combines martial arts with dance. What is it? It's called capoeira. And capoeira derives all the way from Brazil. We'll have folks in to tell us all about capoeira in our third segment this morning.
All right, so that's what we have in store for you today.
That's right. That's what we've got in store for you. Conversations, definitely, we want to pay attention to. So what we'll be doing, we'll be taking that first break. When we come back, we'll have these esteemed gentlemen in with us to talk to us about the rise in coronavirus cases in Belize. Stay with us. We'll be back.
Good morning, sweetie. It's time for school.
Are you a teacher or public sector employee who is thinking of owning your new home? Get the keys to your new home with Belize Bank's all-inclusive mortgage, the best financing option in Belize for your new home purchase or construction. Inclusive of all mortgage-related fees, no down payment, affordable terms, amazingly low interest rates. Visit our nearest branch to speak to one of our financial advisors to discuss how you can be one step closer to owning your new home. Some conditions apply.
Hola, Tony.
Hey Kevin, ¿qué onda? ¿Qué pasa?
Nada, le vine a buscar porque necesito comprar más mercancías de vasos y platos desechables para mi tienda de comestible. Me estoy quedando sin esas cosas.
No, hombre, fíjate que desde el 15 de abril no puedo importar nada de eso. Y se me acaba de terminar todo lo que tenía hace como 3 semanas.
Oye, pero nunca has estado sin esas cosas. ¿Qué está pasando?
Mira esto. Esta es la nueva ley que prohíbe todo el uso de plásticos no reutilizables. Esos son vasos, platos, cucharas, tenedores, todo eso. Desde 15 de abril de este año no he podido importar nada de eso. A partir del 15 de enero del 2021 nadie puede fabricarlo. 15 de abril 2021 nadie lo puede vender. Y a partir del 14 de julio del 2021 si alguien te agarra con eso, te multan.
Híjole, no sabía eso. Necesito cambiar algunas cosas. Les diré a mis clientes por qué esas cosas ya no están disponibles. Gracias, Antonio.
Así es, cuídate, man.
In these challenging times, the one thing that is certain is that the Belize Bank Limited is here for you. There is nothing more important than your health and safety, and we continue to make every effort to make banking safer for you. Our staff is working around the clock to make sure you can do your banking conveniently 24/7 using our mobile banking app and online banking and keeping ATMs up and running. We value your relationship with us and are here to provide the support you need. First responders are also out there 24/7. Thank you, healthcare workers, security forces, firefighters, caregivers. You are all appreciated. Stay safe. We will get through this together. The Belize Bank, our country, your bank.
Today's COVID update is brought to you by Fulltech Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price but stay for the service.
And we're back. Welcome back to Open Your Eyes. And now we're moving into our first segment for the morning. We prepped about it earlier this morning. The Ministers of Tourism and Health to provide an update to us on the coronavirus cases rise in our country. In with us, we actually have Anthony Mahler. He is the Minister of Tourism and Diaspora Relations. And we also have Minister Michelle Shabat, Minister of Health and Wellness. Guys, I've got to tell you, these shirts are nice. I like it. Welcome and good morning.
Thank you very much. Good morning. Good
Thank
morning
you.
to both of you, and good morning, Belize. And
Morning, Belize.
Special good morning to the nice folks in Kayonert.
Oh, wow.
Same thing in Pickstock.
I hear you. I hear you. But guys, you know, it's a great time to have this conversation. Unfortunately, it must be had. And we're talking here about the rise in coronavirus cases within this country. Yeah. Some folks might blame tourism. Some folks are going to blame that, you know, they're border jumpers. And it's so funny that you've got clusters in various part of the country that are bordering with different countries. So let's start with you, Honorable Shabat. What's the situation going on right now? What's going on?
Yeah. Unfortunately, what we are seeing is we're seeing an upsurge in numbers across the country. We're seeing bigger numbers in the south of the country. As you all are aware, over the weekend we found 25 cases in Midway in the Toledo district. And that is quite concerning. We feel there is a community spread in that area. You all know that as well over the weekend we detected 12 out of 17 of our immigration officers at the Philip Goldson Airport were also positive. And so throughout the country we're seeing a rise in numbers, and that is very concerning for us. I think that, in fact I do know that we ran some tests on Friday to determine whether the cases we're seeing, whether we have now a variant has been introduced into the country. And I can tell you that a variant has been detected. Wow. We don't have the technology in Belize to determine which of the variants it is, but we are working with Baylor University, and we sent out the samples to them so that they're going to be doing the gene sequencing for us, and they'll be able to tell us exactly which variant it is that we now have in the country. And I say that because the medical team that advises the Ministry of Health and Wellness believes that it is the Delta variant, and one of the features of that variant is that it spreads very quickly, and because of the rapid rise in numbers we're seeing, we believe that it is the Delta variant that we may have in the country. So,
what part of the country has this been detected? Again, we're not saying that it is specifically the Delta variant, but we're saying now that a variant has been detected in the country. What part of the country?
This has been detected in the south, in Stan Creek. In Belize, there is a case in Ladyville, and in the north in Orange Walk.
Now, these are tests that have been done in Belize.
Right.
Because Baylor College has actually done some training with our lab
Central Medical Lab
here.
Technicians, yes. So they have the ability to detect whether or not the strain is the same or not, and they have detected that it is not the same strain. And so we do have a variant in the country, and we believe it is the Delta. We're waiting for confirmation through Baylor College.
What does this trigger? We hear the alarm bells across the globe that we must be concerned about Delta.
Right. So I think for a while now we've been saying we can expect a third wave, and I think we're very much at the start of that third wave. And so we are looking, as a government, we're looking at additional measures that we need to take to be able to contain the spread. I don't want to jump the gun, but at our press conference today, we're going to be announcing the additional measures that we're going to be taking, and which are going to be taking effect on Sunday.
Now, I understand that it was actually a time where the government was trying to move towards reducing restrictions. And in fact, now we will be going in the opposite direction.
Yes, Marlene, I think for a long time, from the very inception, we've been saying that this virus is spread through human behavior. I mean, unfortunately for us, we have seen some huge wakes. We have seen partying going on in parts of this country. People have stopped adhering to the public health measures.
Yeah.
And unless we continue, unless we curb our behavior, unless we take responsibility for our behavior, this is the direction we're going to go.
I want to come back to some of that, but Minister Mala, let me get you into this conversation because it is critical, especially for the tourism industry, that Belize has the COVID situation under control. Let's talk about how putting this into perspective for the tourism sector.
Well, it has been critical, and I must commend Mr. Shabat and his team over the Ministry of Health and Wellness for a job well done. Actually, we've used this safeness of Belize in regards to COVID as one of our key marketing tools out there.
Yeah.
In fact, the CDC has us at level 1, which is the lowest you can get, or the best you can get, the safest, right? Yeah. And so we have been using this as a competitive advantage in the last few months, and we see that the Philip Goetz International Airport now that the borders are open, we're seeing more and more people coming through the borders as well.
Yeah.
But the critical thing is for us to be safe.
Are tourists still asking about the safety of traveling to Belize due to COVID?
Some, but as more and more people in our primary market in the United States get vaccinated, then other things come into play, like the cost of coming to the destination, what is here to do, other safety measures, and so it is still important because not enough people have been vaccinated across the world, and here in Belize.
We've heard of, and of course we've seen, we've covered that story in the news whereby immigration officers, they've contracted the coronavirus cases. What is still being asked of tourists before entering Belize?
Well, if you have been vaccinated, you can be randomly tested. If not, then you need a rapid test or a PCR test to come into the country. And the same thing at the borders. So I want to stress that from our testings at the airport, significantly, there has been a small number of people who have tested positive and have gone through the protocols to ensure that we are safe here and they are safe.
How many of them are foreigners versus Belizean nationals?
I don't have, but the total is somewhere around about 55, right?
Okay.
Yeah, well, I think Mr. Mala is correct. I mean, the vast majority of people coming through PGIA have tested negative. And as he correctly says, that although we are accepting people who have been vaccinated and who can prove they have gotten their 2 shots to come into the country without presenting a test, we still reserve the right as a government to do random testing. Yeah. And we do it because for us it is important to understand, to have a database as to who comes into the country, who may be positive, and if they're positive, what variant they may be carrying. And so we continue to collect that data.
Now let's dive into the outbreak with the immigration officers, first identified at the Philip Goetz International Airport. Does this mean that there was a breakdown of protocol somewhere?
Marlene, it is hard to say, but we have quite a number of people passing through the airport. I believe we had, how many did we have last month?
In May we had about almost 21,000. 21,000. In June we're looking at closer to 28,000. So in May we're about 70% of pre-COVID numbers, and June we're trending towards 80, maybe 82% of pre-COVID numbers. So the experts had said that we would be back within 2 years, maybe 3 years. Well, we're showing a rebound. We don't know how long it's going to last, because it's going like this. Yeah. I would have preferred it gradually grew, but it has been a spike. The country needs the revenues, the foreign exchange, and so it's. I'm not complaining, and the people in the tourism industry are not complaining. But
so 21 to 28,000 people passing through the airport. There's been so much training, so much investment made in making sure people are safe there. So what happened?
Well, I mean, obviously you can't guarantee 100%, Marlene. And somewhere along the line, somebody had to have breached the protocols to have become infected. That's the bottom line.
And then the interaction amongst each other?
Yeah, you know, obviously I think to some extent, I think we're victims of our success to a certain extent. That for a very long time we were seeing 1 case, 2 cases, 3 cases, and I think generally the country fell into a lull. We felt that Corona had pretty much gone away, and so many of us let down our guards, and I think that is what may have happened. And so I think it is natural.
Were they vaccinated?
I'm not sure if they were.
Yeah, because frontline workers were part of the early phases.
It doesn't mean that the immigration officers got
vaccinated.
Got COVID as a result of work.
Right.
They could have gotten it outside and brought it into work.
Yeah.
Correctly so.
Yeah.
Correctly
so I just want to make that clear.
Mr. Mala, you actually gave us the numbers that have been detected at the international airport, which is of course a border point. But there were naysayers to the free zone, the Corozal free zone. Would you have numbers, if there are any, from the Corozal free zone or from the western border as well, if there were coronavirus cases detected?
You're talking about two different things, right? The free zone is its own operation. The northern border, the western border.
There we go. Thanks for
all different operations, right? From our information at Caben, we haven't heard any cases at the free zone, and we haven't had any cases at the, or I haven't gotten a report as yet, at the northern or western borders.
Okay.
In fact, the requirements are even more stringent at the borders. So you have to come in with having been fully vaccinated up to 2 weeks prior to travel, and you must test as well.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think that's important to highlight, and I think that's an important message. At our land borders, the protocols are different. Remember that the land borders are only open to tourists at this time.
Yeah.
And so when you enter the country, you must be tested at the land borders. So even if you come in with a negative test, you're still tested at the land borders.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is there sufficient testing taking place?
Again, Marlene, we don't have enough tests taking place, and again, it is because of the lull that we went into. People felt, things were on the flat, and so the testing, the amount of testing has gone down. But simultaneously, that we have seen an increase in the number of people getting vaccinated, which is what we want, right? We were talking about the free zone. One of the success stories with the free zone in the north is that over 75% of the people up there who are working in the free zone have been vaccinated. And I think that is why you see the kind of results that you're seeing, And
the free zone has seen well over 300,000 people passing through it since it reopened. And so you have a large number. And that tells us that if we're smart, if we continue to listen to medical advice, that we can live and coexist with this, but we still have to remain guarded. I was telling Mr. Shabat that I was in Miami last week, and a consultant from our airline development group came to have a meeting with us from New York, and he was shocked at what I was shocked. No, it was like a free for all. No, people aren't adhering to anything, and when I checked the statistics yesterday, they were only 47% vaccinated. So there is a level of irresponsibleness, and there's a level of dropping our guard. And I think certain parts of the country, specifically, that have done the same thing here in Belize, and the minister is right. We have to keep up our guard. We have to keep the protocols in place.
Yeah.
So social distance, physical distancing, wearing a mask, sanitizing. Keep all of that until this is behind us, until we reach at least 250,000 people who are vaccinated. And then we can say, all right, we still have to be guarded, but we're in a safer position. Because, as we all know now, the vaccination doesn't prevent anything. It just allows us to cope with the negatives of COVID a little better.
Yeah, it prevents you from getting into the hospital, where you may potentially lose
it does prevent you from having severe
symptoms.
Which leads me to ask Minister Shabat, what are the numbers right now with respect to COVID vaccinations? Are we where we want to be at this point?
We are where we had vaccinations to be. I know that there's a criticism that has been leveled against the Ministry of Health and Wellness. We've been criticized in relation to our vaccination campaign, saying that it's wholly inadequate. We're not at where we need to be. But I think we need to step back and realize what has happened. If we look back, the first amount of vaccines we got 1,000 vaccines, which was the first donation through Barbados. If you recall, that was followed by 25,000, which we got through the government of India. And then we got our first shipment to the COVAX facility of 33,600. And so the learning back then was that the vaccines had to be reserved, one, for the most vulnerable populations. And so what we started to do was immediately started to vaccinate our healthcare workers. They being on the front line, we felt it was important to vaccinate them. We then moved to vaccinating our people who are 60 years and over, because when you look back at the statistics, the people who were dying were that age group. They are the most vulnerable persons in our community. And so 2 things we had to take into effect. Well, 3. 1, the availability of the vaccines. 2, we needed to reserve to make sure that the frontline workers and the most vulnerable of the population got vaccinated. And then 3, because we did not know where and when the other vaccines would be coming, we had to make sure that we had second doses for the persons who got the first. You all will know that the AstraZeneca is a 2-dose vaccine. So you get the first one, and then between 8 to 12 weeks, you get the second dose. So these were the considerations. But I must tell you that we have used up all the vaccines that we got. They're all in arms. We recently got 100,000 doses through Mexico. And as of today, I am happy to announce that the vaccine is available to every single Belizean who's 18 years and over. So we've moved from a phased rollout to opening it up to the entire country. Anyone who's 18 years and above can attend any of our public facilities and get vaccinated. And why we're able to do that now...
I'm glad you said that, because it's one way to get us closer to the 50% or 70% marker.
Correct.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
So just for me to finish on that line, we're now able to do that because we have the vaccines on hand, which we did not have before in the quantities that we now have. And so we are where we need to be, and we expect that in July we're going to see a massive jump in numbers. And I will share the numbers with you shortly. I think Minister Mala wanted to.
I think it's critical. I want to appeal to the masses who qualify to be vaccinated to go out and get vaccinated. The last thing we want is to put in measures that we have to shut down the country again. That puts a damper on tourism, that puts a damper on commerce, and other things. So please be responsible and go get vaccinated. It's the safest thing for a country. If you want the goods and services, if you want the free education, if you want the better roads, if you want the better health services, we only can do so if we grow the economy. And being healthy right now and safe from COVID allows us to do that.
Let's get those numbers. How many people are vaccinated as of today?
That is the absolute
we have 2 numbers that are normally given out. Those who've been vaccinated in total and those who've been fully vaccinated.
Let me share them with you, Marlene. As of yesterday, we have 83,507 persons with a first dose, and we have 29,215 persons fully vaccinated across the country. And those numbers for us are incredible numbers. The ones we're looking at is the fully vaccinated persons. With the current doses that we have in country, we feel that by the end of July, going into August, that the number we currently have should be doubled, so that we're going to have anywhere between 50 to 60,000 Belizeans fully vaccinated. And that puts us ahead of the game. It puts us closer to where we want to be.
So I hear what you're saying, and when you look at the numbers in whole, about 100,000 people in general have received a dose. Some 20% of that is fully vaccinated. We're about halfway to that 50% mark that we need for herd to start to see ourselves in herd immunity. But the concern, Minister, is the speed that it's happening.
Right.
We at 20,000, I think, over a month ago. We're at 29,000 fully vaccinated now. Right. So it seems that the rush for people to come in and get vaccinated is not the same. What's being done to help these persons who have concerns, whether we deem them valid or not, but have concerns about getting that shot in their arm?
Right. So I think over the last week, we saw a massive jump in vaccinations. We vaccinated over 14,000 people in a week. And so, again, couple things. The availability of the vaccine was the primary concern, and making sure that we have available for second doses. That fare has now been, we've crossed that barrier because we have 100,000 doses we can now give out. But Marlene, I think the most important thing that the ministry has been doing is outreach. We have mobile vaccinators going out into the villages, teaching people. And so it is a 2-phase approach. We go out first and we educate. Because as you say, there are a lot of people who have concerns. There are a lot of people who don't know all the facts about the vaccines. You hear people saying, boy, they're going to implant a chip through the vaccine, or it's a sign of the devil, or, I mean, it is just incredible the stories you hear. And so from our point of view, it has been important to first go out and educate.
Yeah.
We go out and we educate, and then a couple days later, we follow with the vaccinations. Yeah.
Let's talk about those numbers.
So I just want to say add something
Yeah.
to this. Yesterday, we had a presentation from the people from Ministry of Health, and it shocked me that said that people are talking about blood clot and all the things that you can get, but it's more likely to get a blood clot from being pregnant and from having a long flight to
birth control and
from birth control than from the vaccine. So please, maybe Vervine and Billy Webback and Contribo and all of those things maybe help, but the vaccine is the best way to go.
I mean, I agree. I took my second dose right here on television. I understand the benefits for me personally, my loved ones, and for the country in general. But there's still a lot more people to push over into getting the vaccination itself.
Right. Yeah.
And so let me just shift slightly over to frontline workers in the tourism sector. In some of the Caribbean countries, they're moving towards mandating frontline workers in tourism because it is such an important part of getting their economy going.
Well, for
what's
us,
the uptake first? How many are vaccinated?
We're okay. We have a little ways to go. We had allocated 8,000 doses, and we're about 80% of that. So not bad. I think other than the extreme frontline people, the tourism people are doing up there. But again, we can do more. We have a lot more people to reach out to get vaccinated.
Yeah.
I can share some numbers for you if you wish. I'm the numbers guy, right? So,
and you know I'll ask.
So in terms of frontline workers, we have 90% of our frontline workers who are in the hospitals vaccinated, or healthcare workers. 90% of them. We have 81% of our custom officials vaccinated. We have 78.7% of our people who identify as being involved in the tourism industry vaccinated. We have 70% of the people from the National Assembly vaccinated. We have 61.6% of teachers vaccinated. And I want to come back to the teachers. And persons 60 years and above, we have 60% vaccinated. We are lagging behind in terms of the police force, the BDF, the Coast Guard. Those numbers are lacking. They're lagging behind, and so we're encouraging. The police is at 27.8%. Wow. The BDF at 21.8%, and we have the Coast Guard at 16.4%. Wow. And so we need our security forces to come out and get vaccinated.
So you have been strategizing with Minister Musa how to get that moving?
Minister Musa and Minister Marin, because it is important to get them involved. And I think you all saw maybe a week or so ago when the commissioner went to get vaccinated.
They looked like it took some convincing though, because he did the video ad saying he'd do it a long time ago.
Right, it did take some convincing, and as he says, it had to be the right time. And I think in retrospect,
the man in a gym to so he
All right, so I know you said you wanted to come back to teachers, but let me come back to National Assembly. 70%. The National Assembly should be leading the charge with the first 100%
right, but the National Assembly, we're not just talking about the ministers and area reps. You're also talking about the staff and the support, the administration and the support staff. And so, yes, I mean, 70 is good, but it's not where we need to be. We need to be at 100% across the board.
What are the reasons behind it?
I think, Marlene, first of all, the vaccine is not mandatory. And so that's one issue. Secondly, people do have concerns. And I don't think that they are getting enough information. And so that is our responsibility as a Ministry of Health and Wellness to increase our education campaign so that people become more aware and we can get a greater uptake of the vaccines.
Two things, Minister Shabat, and I'll take it back to testing. Are people actually going out to test? You know, primarily, when at the rollout of the entire COVID, it was a big scare. But people feel now that, you know what, we could live with this. I'm just going to live my life and I'll stay away from other people. But still getting these signs. Are people going out to test? That's the first one. I'll ask you the second one afterwards.
Yeah, not as much as we'd like. I think people have symptoms, mild symptoms, and they take it for granted that it's a flu or it's not, it's something else. And they're not being proactive to get tested. And I think that is where we have the problems we're seeing. Yeah. Remember that even if you have the minimal signs, you have a cough, a cold, you should go out and get tested. Yeah. It is important to know your status, you know. And again, we have a lot of asymptomatic people walking around. And so testing continues to be one of the critical weapons we have in this fight.
Now, speaking of testing, we got to understand, or it is maybe rumored that there may be a move afoot to actually privatize testing?
Well, no. Testing is free to all Belizeans at all of our public facilities. Travelers leaving the country can also get tested at our public facilities, but there is a charge, and there are 16 licensed private entities that also conduct testing for travelers, right? Now, at the airport and at the borders, we have moved to privatize the testing there, and simply because we don't have sufficient manpower in our health system, and we have doctors and nurses deployed and public health inspectors deployed at those areas, and right now we need them on the front line with our testing in country and vaccinations. And so that has been the main reason why we have moved to privatization.
Now, you know, the bigger concern there is the selection of Belize Diagnostic Center because of the familial relation that you do have with the owners of that institution. Let's go back and talk about whether or not there was a tendering process.
There was a tendering process, and I don't have any familiar relationships. They are not related to me.
Not directly,
not
but
directly
through wedding,
related to
through
me.
marriage.
Not even through marriage. Not even through marriage.
Through no minister, they have no relation to any government representative.
Not to this one. Not to this one. Right? Not to this one. And that is guaranteed. You can go and check who their shareholders and directors are, and they're not related.
Well, I'm sure
to
you've
me.
done due diligence. Tell us.
Yeah. Well, Marlene, since you asked about the tendering process, this was handled through the PMU unit of the Ministry of Health and Wellness, and the 16 entities were invited to tender. Out of that, only two tendered to do this, and the selection committee, which included a representative from the Ministry of Finance, as is required by law, reviewed the tenders, and they determined that it would have gone to Belize Diagnostic Center. And so it followed all the legal procedures that we need to do when we are tendering or when we're inviting anybody to provide a service to the Ministry of Health and Wellness.
So why was it necessary to outsource the testing at the entry points?
Well, like I said, we have our healthcare workers deployed, and we need them in country to help us with our vaccinations and in our hospitals. Basically, as you all know, many of the other services that we provide at our public hospitals had to have been put on hold because of COVID. And now we're going back and now opening up our services at all of our hospitals, and we need our healthcare workers on site.
And going back to the testing and the reports that are made, the daily reports that the Ministry of Health puts out, it gives a cumulative number for tests. How many of those are tests done for Belizeans versus those entering or leaving the country?
Well, once you're tested in Belize, it has to be counted. Yeah. And so the cumulative numbers that you're seeing are numbers across the board.
Yeah. But, I mean, so here we have 1,000 tests done yesterday.
Right.
If we look at it, there are people who are taking tests who are not necessarily symptomatic, not necessarily exposed, because they're simply going to travel.
Right.
And they have to get that done. The numbers that we're seeing, this number here would include the number of people tested.
That includes everyone who's tested across the board.
So it wouldn't be as accurate a representation of the contact tracing that is taking place and the investigation that's taking place to the active cases in the country.
Well, once the contact tracing and the surveillance includes testing, it is reflected. Yeah. It is reflected.
So, Minister, if you understand what I'm saying, let's say 500 people traveled yesterday.
Right.
Let's say. And they had to get tested, not because they've been exposed to COVID, but just because they need that test to leave the country.
Right.
In reality, we've only tested half of that number for the day.
Right. That's correct.
Yeah.
That is accurate.
And that would definitely help us to understand the extent of testing that's happening in the country.
Right. Again, as we have said earlier in the segment, we need more people to come out and get tested. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. And what are we doing to allow that to happen?
Well, Marlene, we have all of our sites available throughout the country. You can get tested at any of our facilities. And again, when we go out and do the education, apart from sharing the information about the vaccines, people have the opportunity to be tested and vaccinated. You know, and this is happening throughout the country. We have teams in our villages. As a matter of fact, I like to use Central Health Region as one of the examples. I mean, these guys here in the city have been going from business to business, vaccinating people. And that is the kind of outreach that we're going to be increasing. In the north, the medical teams out there are out in the villages, educating, testing, vaccinating. You know, I can tell you that unfortunately, many people are still resisting even the testing. A lot of people down in Midway, when the team went down there, were hesitant to get tested. And so
I believe you said it was guidance from their religious leaders.
Well, some of the pushback in terms of getting vaccinated comes from
Have you
some
tried
of the
to bring the
leaders.
religious community together, maybe do some sensitization with them?
Yes. The community health workers and the team from the Ministry of Health have been down in the Toledo district meeting with the religious leaders and educating. So
Let's bring this back to, I think, what is the biggest issue at hand. We have detected that there is a variant in country. All assumptions are it will most likely be Delta, but the time it'll take to do the sequencing for that test, maybe a few weeks before we get those results.
well, hopefully we're going to get it on Friday.
Okay.
We're
It'll be
expecting
shorter.
by Friday. Yes.
Fantastic.
We're expecting to get it by Friday. Absolutely.
So by Friday we'll know.
We're hoping by Friday
definitively
we'll know exactly which variant it is.
which variant it
Yes.
is. It may be Delta. There are other variants out there as well.
Yes.
And you are moving to announce stricter measures today.
Yes.
Let's talk about the implications for that with tourism. We know that this has been kind of the push and pull in the tourism industry. We need to be safe. Belizeans need to be safe. And tourisms want to come into a country that is safe. But at the same time, they don't want to be as restricted when they're on vacation. What's the balance you've been able to strike here?
We've been able to create the balance. As you see, the numbers are going up. And so in terms of outdoor dining, it's up to 75%, indoor dining 50%. Traveling throughout the country has been a little bit more comfortable in terms of capacity in buses and boats and the domestic airlines. So we have to continue, but I support my colleague. If it reaches to a tipping point where we have to shut down again and to be safe for the long haul, then we will have to do so. That's why we're asking people to be responsible, to get vaccinated. The more we are vaccinated, then the safer we are, and the more we can open up. The last thing we want to do is become very rigid and mandate anything. So mandate vaccinations for certain groups of people. We want to use dialogue. We want to encourage people. We want to educate people as much as possible for them to be vaccinated and to continue to test. If they know anybody who is showing flu-like symptoms, encourage them to test. And that's the only way we can remain safe.
That's right.
And has the conversation reached as far as talking about a potential lockdown if we do see a particular number of cases?
Marlene, I think we're going to be monitoring this very closely. It is the last thing we want to do. And so we are trying to putting other safeguards to avoid a total lockdown. I mean, it has taken us maybe 16 months to try and to be able to breathe a little bit. And we want to be able to continue along that path. We want to open more of the economy as we can. But again, it goes back to vaccinations, that we cannot overemphasize that message. And again, I want to reiterate, everybody 18 years old and over can now get vaccinated in this country. If you have been vaccinated and you've the 8 weeks have passed since you got your initial dose, you can also go in and get vaccinated. Remember, the window is 8 to 12 weeks. So that is now available. We now have the vaccines in country. And again, we're encouraging everybody to come out and get vaccinated. This is the solution to opening up our country. This is solution to our people getting back the jobs that they have lost over the last 16, 17 months.
Yeah.
This is the way to go.
There are no longer phases.
Lockdown
No
isn't
phases.
off the table. It's last on your list of possible actions. Maybe phase lockdowns before that. What about mandatory vaccination? Has that been anywhere in the discussion?
You know, it is always being discussed. And I can tell you that I saw a recent legal opinion coming out of the Caribbean, which is very pertinent to us, obviously. And the opinion is to the effect, yes, we have constitutional rights, but those rights can be abrogated when you have pandemics like we now have, right? And so I think that gives us a little bit of legal leverage in the event that we needed to mandate vaccinations. I think we now have the support of the law if we wanted to go down that road.
Can I add something? In May we were at 70% of where we were pre-COVID. June looks like it's going to be around 80%. It took us 8 months to get there. The last thing we need is another shutdown. The same thing with the borders. We're far from where we were, but it's gradually growing. The numbers are growing and increasing. Like I said, the last thing we need to shut down is are the borders.
All right.
What concerns you the most about what you're seeing? I mean, you know the numbers, you know the data, both of you, and you drive around the country. What concerns you the most?
Couple things. First of all, human behavior is the number one concern I have. And secondly, I'm concerned that our healthcare workers have been stretched to the limit. These folks have been working around the clock for the last 16, 17 months, and they're humans. They're humans, and they have sacrificed so much to keep us safe to this point. I think we also have a responsibility individually and as community and as a country. We have that responsibility to adhere to the public health measures. It is only through adherence that we'll be able to stem the spread of this virus.
All right. So we're about to take a break. What these guys have done, they've actually teamed up to provide incentives along with Belize Telemedia Limited. Their chairman will be joining us shortly to tell us about what those incentives are. So stay with us. We'll be back.
Working off-site doesn't mean you have to be off your game. Studies have shown that simply adding a keyboard and mouse to your laptop increases productivity by 26%. Add a monitor and you'll be 35% more productive. At Fulltech Systems, we have what you need to enhance your remote work or e-learning experience. With devices such as headsets, video conferencing monitors, webcams, keyboards, mice, docking stations, all with the brands you trust. Keep connected with collaboration tools like Microsoft 365 Suite and Kaspersky and perform efficiently no matter where you are. Fulltech Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price, but stay for the service.
Infinite Health presents Common Sense Herbs, everything your body needs, and are all natural, dairy-free, non-GMO, cruelty-free, gluten-free, and are FDA monitored. Everything your body needs. Distributor in Belize, Infinite Health, Birdseye, Belize City. Telephone number 613-1914. That's 613-1940.
As one of the largest cable and internet providers in Belize, CBC strives to provide our customers with the highest standards of quality, value, and service in all aspects of cable TV and internet. Monitoring our systems closely, our technicians combine creative planning and state-of-the-art technology with years of experience and training to develop and provide the most reliable and advanced cable and internet service to exceed your expectations. For CBC and our team of talented engineers, technicians, and customer service representatives, delivering less than the very best is never an option.
Whether you're at home, on the road, at work, or at school, if you see news happening or suspect that something might be up, call or text the Channel 5 News Belize tip line at 672-5555. You don't have to give us your name, just give us the tip. That's 672-5555. Call or text us so we can check it out.
Back, and we're moving to our second part of the conversation. These esteemed gentlemen are still here with us, but this part of the conversation is based on the incentives when you get vaccinated. Now, to tell us more of what that's going to be like, we also have with us Mark Lizarraga. He's the chairman of Belize Telemedia Limited. Mark, good morning.
Good morning, John. Good morning, Marlene, and good morning, ministers. How are you this morning?
Morning, Chairman.
Morning.
And we're doing great, actually. The conversation, though, is definitely one that we need to have because people are hesitant to actually get vaccinated. But we've got to say, before you, and you can finish it, Minister Shabat, before you
relax, get vax. So that is the, today, Chairman, today we're going to be relaunching our vaccination campaign, and it's going to be launched under the slogan, before you relax, get vax, right? And so that is going to be presented today at our press conference. And so what is involved with this is that the Ministry of Health and Wellness team will be going from district to district every week, and they're going to be undertaking an education campaign, educating our citizens about the benefits of the vaccines, and at the same time vaccinating people. We're going to have mobile units as well to reach out to the rural communities. And so we are using July as our target month, as our push month, to get as many of our people vaccinated as possible. And so we're going to be sharing that with the general public today. You know.
So I just want to reiterate what the minister said earlier, that we had priority groups before. Now everybody can get vaccinated that qualify.
Once you're over 18.
18 and above, you can go to your nearest health facility and get vaccinated, right? And again, people who are now due their second dose, who have had 8 weeks since the first dose, can also get their vaccination. They don't have to wait for the 12 weeks.
So it is open. We are at phase 5 technically, where anyone over 18 can go.
Yeah, the phases are out the door.
Yeah.
The phases are out the door. We have enough vaccinations in country, and so everybody who's 18 and above are now eligible to get.
And I think in due time we'll get to under 18 as well when we get a certain type of vaccine.
Yes.
That would be the Pfizer or Moderna.
That would be the we're looking at the Pfizer.
Okay.
So far as we know, it is the only vaccination that has been approved for the 12 to 18-year-old group.
So I want to look on certain audience. If you don't want to go to the Dexadapt or the Balenian cancer, Dexadapt, no? Da Vinci or maybe even Bojina my time, no?
Still relevant today.
Right?
Yeah.
And if you want to have carnival back and if you want to go out to get vaccinated, you are an important target audience. We have a young population, and so young people tend to think that they're invincible. Young people die from this disease as well, or this virus as well. So use the opportunity to go out and get vaccinated.
And that's a key thing there, because two issues with the younger population. One, the newer strains have shown to also cause severe symptoms in younger people, even children. Yes. But the second part is that even if they didn't suffer severe symptoms, they're spreaders. So if we can get them vaccinated.
They are. And that is why I said I wanted to come back to the teachers, Marlene and John. We only have 60% of our teachers vaccinated to date. Our concern with the teachers are that the teachers may be themselves infected when they go into the classrooms, and they can infect the children. Now, the children, as you correctly said many times, are asymptomatic, but then they go home, and without knowing, they infect perhaps the older members of their family who are more vulnerable. And so the message I want to stake to the teachers today is, please get out and get vaccinated. I can tell you that we've had the cooperation of some of the local managements where they have organized their teachers for us to go on campus and to vaccinate them. We have a vaccination strike team that anybody who calls us and who can get at least 11 persons in their enterprise, in their business, in their organization, we are going to go to you and we're going to vaccinate you. So there is no reason to hold back. There is no reason in this country for anybody to now say, I can't get a vaccine.
Well, there's no reason to hold back, and now there's added incentive to go.
That's
so that's
correct.
a part of the reason why Chairman Lizarraga is with us this morning, because Digi is stepping up to try to sweeten the pot for people, right?
Well, Digi wants to be a part of this because we need to get to a new normal. And so we're launching a campaign that says vaccinate and win today. Marlene, as part of our corporate responsibility, we obviously care for our workers, and we obviously care a lot for their families and for our nation, for the common good. So we want to do whatever we can, and we have been participating with the Ministry of Health in sending text blasts, etc. But we're stepping up the game now. Because, Marlene, the science is clear in that there's one sure way to keep you out of the intensive care unit, and there's one sure way to really minimize your risk of dying, and the scientific data is there, and that's through vaccination. You know, Marlene, we're so blessed in this country that we are abundant with vaccinations.
That's
Imagine
true.
that the government is begging you to go and get vaccinated, and we're here procrastinating as a people and not taking advantage of this when so many countries would wish that they have the vaccination. So as part of our corporate responsibility, BTL is, of course, being the national telecom, we have a responsibility as an essential service. We play an important role in national communications, in ensuring that we keep the pipes open, so to speak, the communication pipes open. So not only is it of national importance from a strategic standpoint, but from a business standpoint, from a communication standpoint as people, we have to ensure that we have a healthy workforce. So we're certainly excited by this partnering with the ministry. Another big reason is, Minister Mala mentioned it, is that our economy has suffered, and BTL has suffered as a part of that. We've lost, due to this pandemic, some $33 million in revenues, and we want to see our economy bounce back as soon as possible. So what we're doing is we're launching this campaign, Vaccinate Today, and we're giving cash prizes, vacation prizes, free Digi services to persons that have had their first or second dose of the vaccine. And this raffle will be held monthly. And what we'll be doing is we'll be asking the ministry to provide us with the certificate numbers only, not the names, not the personal information, but just the numbers. We throw those in a barrel, so to speak, an electronic barrel, and we come up with winners every month. So in a nutshell, that's what it is. Trying, again, to get back to a new normal, trying to keep our workers, their families, and our nation safe as we try to recover from this pandemic.
I don't want you to gloss over the prizes, though. So what are we talking about? What can I win? Because I hope my serial number's in there.
Me too.
Well, again, as I said, everybody that has had a first dose or a second dose, the ministry will be providing us with all those serial numbers that they have issued. I guess each certificate has a serial number. And you can win $100, you can win $250 every month. You can get data, free 4.5 gigs of free data, and you can get a postpaid light plan for 1 year. You can get a Muy Uno vacation. Cool. So there are lots of prizes. Okay. There's lots of incentives now. And guess what? The only thing you have to do is to get vaccinated. That's it. We'll take care of the rest. You don't have to drop your number in a barrel. We'll get in touch with you. We'll do all the work for you. Yeah. So just get vaccinated.
This is not one of those that you have to buy if you win.
Right? Not at all. Not at all. Yeah. The ministry has already paid for that for you. They have bought your ticket to this raffle. So Marlene, on a more serious note, this vaccine is free. Mm-hmm. This vaccine is absolutely free. There are many countries that would love to have vaccinations for the people. There are many countries that we know are closing down their economies. Yeah. Yet again, have high death numbers because they don't have the vaccine. We're very blessed in Belize to have a government that has really pushed to bring down the numbers of deaths we've had in our country, and a big part of it is going to be if our population can become 100% vaccinated. Yeah.
So thank you. So you told us all about how
take advantage of it.
Yeah, how private sector is stepping up to try to get more people vaccinated. Yeah. This is one of quite a few that are ongoing. Right. And I know there's also a vacation giveaway.
We have some monies too. So I think two prizes that we have, 2,500 each, and some vacations across Belize.
Wow. Okay.
So,
and those are for newly vaccinated?
No, everybody as well. I'll slip your card in, right?
Marlene putting a plug in there. Yeah. But Marlene,
but I did see some people saying that though the early birds were feeling left out. They thought they weren't eligible, so they can rest assured this morning.
Yeah, because it's going to be based on the vaccination card number, and so they're all going to be thrown into the barrel, all the numbers, and so it's just the luck of the pick, so to speak. But apart from the formal partners we have in BTL and in BTB, I mean there are other enterprises who are giving similar incentives. I believe I saw a recent one where Mikado is now saying your vaccination card is a discount card. Nice. And so it's catching on. It's catching on, and this is what we need. Yeah. This is a partnership. This is a partnership. The Ministry of Health and Wellness, the government of Belize cannot do it alone. Yeah. We have done our part in making sure we have vaccines in country, and we have the staff to go out and vaccinate you. But we need the help of everybody, the business community and our general community, to get out and get vaccinated. All of our lives depend on this. When you look at what's happening at our sister countries in the Caribbean, in Jamaica and in Trinidad, they don't have sufficient vaccinations. And you see the lines and lines of people. We have 100,000 vaccines in country. We're expecting in July another shipment of COVAX vaccination. In August, we have purchased through the African platform, we have purchased additional doses, and so we have the vaccines coming into the country.
And Johnson & Johnson, when is that coming?
That is the supply we're going to be getting through the African platform.
In August?
And we're expecting that in August. Yeah. So, and again, as Minister Mala alluded to earlier, we are working around the clock to try to obtain the vaccines for the 12 to 18-year-old group.
Yeah. Okay. And we now have the
cold storage
facility as well. So let's talk about, there are two different prizes that BTB has put together. One's specifically for frontline workers, right? Mm-hmm. Tell us about it.
Well, what we're trying to do is to get as many people in the tourism industry and also in the health sector. Mm-hmm. In the health sector and the police, the BDF. Yeah. They've been working hard, so we wanted to give back to them. And so they're going to be in a special, just to get trips, to get some weekend vacations, that they can get some R&R to experience some of the wonders of Belize.
Those are some nice prizes.
And also, then the side of the program is to have people who are vaccinated to win monetary prizes and to win some vacation stays as well.
Yeah.
So we want to give back to our frontline people, and then we want to ensure that people are incentivized to go out and get vaccinated.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm sure you advise other businesses to jump on board, because this is actually for all of us.
Yeah. You know, recently RF&G took it upon themselves and they had a vaccination fair on their compound, and it went really well. And so these are the types of initiatives we're inviting the general public. I mean, it doesn't have to be anything grand. I can tell you that we have one of the BPOs in Belmopan who've lined up for Friday, about 40 of their employees, and we're going to be sending in a team to vaccinate them. A couple of weeks ago, we saw the Commissioner of Police organize at the training school over 130 policemen and recruits to get vaccinated. And so this is the type of teamwork that we need for this to happen. This success story depends on each and every one of us.
So it's important people know these incentives are being rolled out. I think I mentioned to you, I've seen the church even in Belize City, St. Martin's Church has a cash raffle that people have been, can be able to get or to win if they get vaccinated. I've seen a few more. We did a story on it last week. So people are stepping up, and I think what is this subliminal message that perhaps isn't being said, and Chairman, I know you're going to chime in on this one, is it's important to private sector because this is about getting the economy moving as well.
It's absolutely important. You know, Marlene, we have suffered as a country, as a people, for too long. And again, this is actually for love of country, because we have to be, in this case, many of us are brothers keepers. Yeah. And the only way we can really stop people is to get vaccinated, stop the spread, is to get vaccinated, to lower deaths. You know, Marlene, I was looking at a very alarming statistic, Minister, on the World Meters webpage. Belize is really number 6 in the region as far as in North America, as far as infections. The only countries that are higher than us is the United States, Mexico, Panama, Aruba, Costa Rica, and then Belize in deaths per million people. So we've lost 330 odd people. Minister, I stand to be corrected. Yeah. So people might think it's not a lot, and we've relaxed. But for the love of our country, for the love of our families, for our nation to recover, we have to have a safe population. We have to remove these restrictions as much as possible and have a healthy workforce so that we can open up our doors and get this tourism engine going again, because it's an engine that we really, really need. And the private sector desperately needs it, so that we're able to create more jobs, so that we're able to feed the people the way they need to be fed, etc., etc. Everything has to come through the economy, and for the economy to open, we have to have a population that's significantly vaccinated. Marlene, one of the things we have committed to is we've committed to this advertising blast, text message, getting the campaign out. We would like to see half of the population of this country receiving at least their first dose, and 10% receiving their second dose by the end of September. I mean, so
imagine a normal Christmas. Wouldn't we all love that?
But that's the goal, huh?
Yeah.
That's the goal. A little bit of belt tightening, a little bit of sacrifice right now.
I'll do our part. And BTL is committed to working along with the ministries in trying to get the message out and trying to get people motivated so that we could have a healthy workforce, so we could have a healthy country and come to Belize, all of the people are vaccinated. Wouldn't that be great? I mean, we have the vaccines. The minister is just telling you we have 100,000 vaccines and we have more coming. So in theory, we can have everybody that needs to be vaccinated very shortly.
Agreed.
That's why the ministry is named the Ministry of Health and Wellness. We have to take into consideration that we have a large portion of our population with underlying conditions. So diabetes, about 25%, maybe even 30% of our population is afflicted by diabetes. Hypertension, HIV, we have a lot of people with HIV and other underlying conditions, heart disease. And so we have to be responsible as a population, especially younger people now that we're opening up to. Go out, get vaccinated, and then you can begin to live a normal life a couple of months down the road when we have enough people being vaccinated.
Yeah.
You know,
it's funny you mentioned live a normal life, and especially when it comes to trying to get that additional income that we need or get back to where we were. Cruise tourism is coming back.
Yes, sir.
So there we go.
On July 7th, we should have a first Carnival ship in port. They're going to be operating at about 60%. And so it's a big ship, so you're still talking about maybe 2,500 passengers. All passengers on, not all, but 95% of Carnival passengers have to be vaccinated. They're leaving a small amount for people for religious purposes, children, and for people who have some ailments or some underlying conditions. And I want to make it clear that that group of people who aren't vaccinated, who are going on the cruise or coming on the cruise, will operate totally in a bubble. They're going to be on a separate part of the ship. They're going to have their own buffet line. They're going to have their own tender. They're going to have their own tour operations, just so that we have stringent measures and the protocols are not eroded. Okay. So Carnival, 4 ships in July, 4 ships in August, and then they ramp it up, 8 ships in September. And then Norwegian, the same thing. Norwegian is going to operate in the bubble. All their staff members are going to be vaccinated. And they're operating, Norwegian and Royal Caribbean are operating at 100% vaccinated.
Even staff, they've been
Even
quarantining
staff, right?
and doing that for a while. If we face higher numbers and we are in a third wave, will that impact whether or not they'll come to port?
It could, definitely could. Like I said, people, because then we may have to take stringent measures, shutting down the port, shutting down operations here in Belize. We don't want to get there, so again, go to get vaccinated.
The lifeline of this country depends on vaccinations, and we can't overstate that. We can't state how important that is. You know, just trying to get back to some sense of normalcy. It underlines, it underpins everything to drive this economy, to get this country back open. It all hinges on vaccinations. And I'll tell you, we've had quite a number of organizations helping us, not only to get out the message, but also to get the vaccines in country. PAHO has been incredible. UNICEF, the European Union have been incredible to us in helping us to obtain the vaccines and in providing with us the cold storage we need. The CDC as well has played their part. And I can tell you that one of the partners we've not yet mentioned and who are behind us every step of the way is Rotary. Rotary is also sponsoring some of our billboards to help get out the message. And so I think it is resonating. The business community or NGOs are getting the message, you know, and they're helping us to bring awareness to the community and to try to help us to get as many persons as we can vaccinated.
Look, sorry, just one thing. Before the reopening of the airport and tourism getting back to some levels of decency, 30% unemployment, 37% unemployment, underemployment. People are struggling to pay their bills. People are struggling to put food on the table. The only way that we can reverse that those numbers is if we have a safe environment here in Belize and our people are vaccinated. So you could either dead from COVID or you could dead from starvation. Pick one. And that's a serious message. This is a serious virus. It has killed many of our people. And we don't want to see the hospitals filled to capacity with people struggling to breathe and people dying. We don't want to do that. And the variants are very aggressive. They spread faster and they come with their own dynamics as well.
I'm so glad you mentioned that because I think, and Chairman mentioned it as well, one of the things that we in fact don't talk about is how high our fatality rate is. And that's for many reasons. And I want to ask you about that because the challenge that you have, and I acknowledge it as a challenge, is that as much as you have to push for vaccination, there's also a simultaneous message that has to remind people for protocols. We have to remind people about getting tested and reminding people to go to the hospital if they exhibit symptoms.
Absolutely.
Or healthcare professionals have consistently said that our fatality rate was linked to the fact that people were coming in too late.
Absolutely.
And we don't get to hear the stories very much of the families who have paid the ultimate sacrifice. But
Absolutely.
over 200 families have mourned their loved one in the past year alone.
Yes. I think the number is about 327 lives lost, Marlene, and it's just too many persons we've lost. Every single life is precious, and every life we lose is just too much. And absolutely, and I think, again, it goes back to taking personal responsibility. Know yourself, know your body, know your reaction. If you're having a little cold, a little cough, if you're experiencing fever, the testing is free. It's available to you at any of our facilities. It costs you nothing, just the time it's going to take you to go there. And so again, the message is get out and get tested, know your status. The quicker you get to the hospital, the quicker you seek medical attention, the better it is for you. The better it is for you.
But you know, in terms of the information that is being shared, there are a lot of people who are on social media spreading false rumors about this thing, or when it comes to the vaccinations. So when it comes to the Ministry of Health and their website, can we get information there?
Yes, we are, and we try to publish as much as we can, John. I know the ministry is working on a Facebook page where we're going to be putting up all the relevant information, all the information we have. And so these are things that are in the pipeline, and we hope to see them shortly.
All right. Well, it seemed that...
so today it's about before you relax.
Before you relax, get vaxxed.
Get vaxxed.
Get vaxxed. Yes.
And then get vaxxed and also win some great prizes.
And I just want, before we close, I want to thank the Belizean population for really supporting the tourism industry during these last 15 months or so. They've been the lifeline for many operations. They've allowed people to just keep enough staff so we have enough people to work for the operations to keep flowing, because the problem is a lot of operations had shut down and now restarting is brutal. If you talk to the car rentals, they needed new batteries, new tires. If you talk to the hoteliers, those that have been shut down for over a year, their maintenance has become very, has added a tremendous cost to them. And so I want to thank the Belizean population for keeping us afloat for the last 15 months. And
those hotels are still keeping those great rates for Belizeans?
Yes.
Okay.
And we will continue our campaign for them as well.
Definitely. Minister Shabat, just before we leave, you did mention of a press conference today?
Yes. It's actually the official launch of our vaccination campaign, coupled with a press conference. That's going to be at 2:30 today.
All right.
Yes.
And Chairman, final words are yours. This incentive.
Well, I would like to say, let's get to a new normal. Let's vaccinate, and you can win by doing so. I'd really like to thank, all those that have contributed to us having access to this vaccine. I'm sure the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the Ministry of Health, the Prime Minister's office. I mean, there's so many people that have made this possible for us. We're lucky, we're blessed that we have the ability to get a vaccine for free in this country today. Many countries, Guatemala, they're not getting the vaccinations they need. All over the world, we see people struggling to get their people vaccinated, and they can't. And we know that the vaccines are not enough in the world. And here we are, lucky enough to have the vaccines. It's the only thing that's going to really stop us from being critically ill. It's the only thing that's going to stop us from dying, because it's proven once you have the vaccination, and your chances of survival are greatly improved. So the science is there. For the love of our country, for the love of our families, for the love of our nation, let's get vaccinated and get to this new normal.
All right.
Thank you.
Chairman Nezaraga, thank you so very much. And so a big thank you as well to Honorable Shabat and Honorable Mala. I feel good to say that. Thank you guys for joining us this morning, and telling us what we need to do and how we need to get ourselves forward.
So say the tagline before we close.
Before you relax, get vaxxed. Guys, and just before we leave, just if you allow me 1 little minute, I want to thank the Prime Minister of this country, who has been relentless in making sure that we have vaccines. I mean, I can tell you he has not stopped. He's constantly on the phone with me, monitoring, making sure we're ready, making sure we have the healthcare workers. And so kudos to our Prime Minister. And again, just before I leave, please get out and get vaccinated. It is the lifeline of your family and of this country. Please get out and get vaccinated. It's now open to everybody 18 years and above. And again, if you're due your second shot and you've had 8 weeks since the first, you can also come and get your second shot. There are no excuses. Let's get vaccinated, Belize.
All right, thank you guys once again. We're about to take our break though. When we come back, there is a physical discipline sport that combines martial arts with dance. We're talking capoeira when we come back. Stay with us.
This COVID update was brought to you by Fulltech Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price, but stay for the service.
Good morning, sweetie. It's time for school.
Are you a teacher or public sector employee who is thinking of owning your new home? Get the keys to your new home with Belize Bank's all-inclusive mortgage, the best financing option in Belize for your new home purchase or construction. Inclusive of all mortgage-related fees, no down payment, affordable terms, amazingly low interest rates. Visit our nearest branch to speak to one of our financial advisors to discuss how you can be one step closer to owning your new home. Some conditions apply.
Since its launch, over 900 students have successfully completed the Social Security Scholarship Program.
I am Fatima Che, co-founder of L3Gs and Associates and owner of Fatima Archer Group of Consultancy Services. In 2009, I graduated from the University of Belize with a bachelor's degree in accounting. And I'm very grateful that Social Security had given me the opportunity by offering me a scholarship to pursue my career.
I am Renata Samuels. I am the Year Report Coordinator for the Department of Youth Services. I received the Social Security Scholarship for high school in 2010. Upon receiving it, I was beyond happy, thankful, and super relieved to know that I relieved my mom from the financial constraint of having to pay for my high school. It actually pushed me to work even harder to know that I am deserving of this scholarship. I implore others, apply for this scholarship. You have nothing to lose and everything to gain, as well as being one step closer to your own dreams.
The Social Security Board is committed to providing educational opportunities to persons on a mission to improve their lives and communities.
It's a fact that with Smart, you get truly unlimited everything. Only with Smart, you get unlimited data anytime, while with the other guy, it's only double data on weekends. With unlimited data every day with Smart, there's no need to wait. So, it's a fact that our unlimited plans beat the competition. Stop being measured and told when to use your data and get unlimited talk, text, and data. Experience the true unlimited plans with Smart. That's a fact. Make the switch and live smart.
Brian, I told you stop it. Can't you hear me? Are you deaf? Are you just being stupid?
Time out. Your life is stressful, and it is easy to lose your patience. When you feel this is about to happen, take a time out. Harsh words are verbal violence and can be very harmful. They are not forgotten. Offering alternatives and communicating with your child is the best way to build real respect.
I'm sorry, Brian. That just had a rough day at work. Can you do something quiet?
Do you want a job?
That's more like it.
When someone you love becomes a memory, the memory becomes a treasure. Channel 5 introduces the Daily Obituaries. The Daily Obituaries will broadcast all death and funeral announcements and memorials to honor your loved one's life and memories. The Daily Obituaries airs on Channel 5 prior to the evening newscast, with subsequent repeats at 10 p.m. and 12 noon the following day. It will also be placed online on our social media platforms, all for a standard package fee. Celebrate their lives and memories with Channel 5's Daily Obituaries. Honor in life and reverence in death.
Wow. Oh my God, she drunk. No hurry, I got this. Goodness. Oh my gosh, it's the artist.
Being the hardest.
The artist.
But you had way more than 2 drinks tonight, love, which is a legal limit to drive. What about you? Can you drive?
Well, I was drinking soft drink all night, so I can drive her home. Thanks, Bree. Of course, Tricia. You know I got you. You're my girl.
That's what I like to see. Friends don't let friends drive drunk, because you can't be replaying a real life. Stig says so. Can't replay in a real life.
Back to Open Your Eyes. We're moving now into our third and final segment for the morning. Now, this one is about martial arts dance thingy like E. And we're talking here capoeira.
You gotta sing the song. Sing the song.
I don't know the song. I don't know the Pananawi song. Pananawi. Pananawi. Kevin is in with us. Kevin and Marissa. Marissa Telles and Kevin Kishan. They're both capoeira instructors, guys. I wish you guys have been in here in the studio, but we got to understand we do have some videos. Welcome and good morning.
Good morning, John. Good morning, Marlene.
Yeah.
It's nice to see both of you. I've never heard of capoeira being done in Belize, and so reading this, I got excited. Tell us, capoeira, what is it?
Kevin, do you want me to describe it or you?
Yeah, you know what, Marissa, you go aheid.
Go ahead, Marissa.
Okay, so capoeira, it is a Afro-Brazilian martial art. It's actually based on a martial art from West Africa known as Batuque. And it's a really amazing, it has an amazing origin story. And so, hundreds and hundreds of years ago, in regards of the West African slaves that were brought to Brazil, they wanted to revolt against their slave owners. And the slave owners would actually watch them practice Batuque. Of course, the slave owners did not like this. And so when they found slaves practicing Batuque, they would obviously, punish them. I'm sorry, they would go ahead and, take them out, kill them in front of the rest of the West African slaves to kind of illustrate, if you practice any type of martial art to revolt against us, you're going to get punished. So they were constantly punishing them. So some of the leaders decided, well, if we make it look like one of our African ceremonies, one of our spiritual or religious ceremonies, we can practice Batuki and, in a sense, get ourselves ready to revolt against the slave owners, and they won't realize it. Wow. And so that's why, when you look at capoeira, it's done in a circle. You have people clapping, you have people singing, and you also have people playing music. It was to disguise the slaves actually practicing a martial art to revolt against the slave owners. And when you speak with various Brazilians, they will say they got their freedom from the Portuguese because of capoeira. So capoeira is deeply rooted in the Brazilian culture. And one thing that's with capoeira in regards of the energy, you have something known as the ginga. And what's really interesting is the Brazilian soccer team, this is going back to Pele, everyone in a sense would try to embrace the ginga of capoeira because they felt by embracing the ginga of capoeira, since capoeira is what gained their freedom, this would help them to actually win a lot of soccer matches. And I mean, as we know, Brazilians are pretty great at soccer.
Well, I mean, as we see the videos of capoeira in practice, you can see how it takes an immense amount of fitness to be able to do this. Kevin and Marissa, how did you guys get started in capoeira? Go ahead.
I got started with a video cassette from the movie Under the Strong.
There you go.
I remember that.
So one of my cousin said, "Hey, you gotta check this out. There's a lot of good moves here." So we played this video 100 times until the videotape can no longer play in the VCR.
Kevin, you dated yourself with two things: Only the Strong, which is a 90s hit, and video cassette. There are some millennials and Gen Z saying, "What is that?"
What are you talking about?
Well, this was when I was around like 16 or 17 years old. You had to go to your neighbor's house to actually play the cassette or maybe even borrow the VCR.
Yeah.
So we would play this cassette and we would review it and go back to the river and practice a move, come back to the video and do it again. And it took a while. It almost took me a whole year to learn the backflip. And when I start teaching kids like under 12 or younger than me, they learn it in the next 5 minutes, like 2 minutes. And I'm like, wow, that's pretty impressive. Because I think kids have no fear. And if you show them the proper way how to do it, they will pick this art really fast.
And so that was from the 90s. You still practice today, and in fact, you teach it as well.
Actually, me and Marissa, I helped Marissa teach. We opened a school here. It's a free school called, what's the name of the capoeira school, Marissa?
Capoeira Basuro.
What does that mean?
So Basuro, I have been practicing capoeira for about 15 years now. My rank is instructora, so it's very close to a professor or profesora. And I actually first came about capoeira when I was living in Los Angeles, California. And there's various different schools of capoeira or styles of capoeira. So the school that I'm from is known as Basuro. And this is kind of more of your street capoeira. So my mestre, he is from Rio de Janeiro in Brazil. And so he, it's pretty rough in those areas, especially the favelas. And so, there's a lot of times people have asked, this is dance fighting. How can you apply that in the real world if, let's say, there's a complication? So the style that we learn is more of that self-defense and more of that real world style. And I have to say, unfortunately, because unfortunately, I have had to use my skills of capoeira to get me out of a scenario with two men when I was traveling in France. And from the self-defense moves I've learned, as well as the version moves that I've learned, I have to say my 5'4", 112-pound self was able to put two guys on the ground.
Wow.
So it is a martial art that can be useful. When you actually see capoeira, when Kevin and I, we say playing, and again, this is kind of terminology to steer away. It's rooted to steer away from the slave owners actually knowing that the slaves were practicing a martial art, patuki. So when you see Kevin and I playing, we're not really hitting each other. We're kind of lightly tapping each other, which takes more technique than just trying to slam into somebody.
Yeah.
And but again, you're learning how to control your body, which in those real life scenarios, that's pretty important.
Fantastic. Marisa, what I hear from you, several things. One is the exercise part of it, keeping yourself fit, martial arts, which comes with its own discipline, but self-defense, which is always an important skill for people to be able to develop. Since you both have started your school or your training program in Placencia, what has been the response?
We were getting obviously COVID slowed everything down and stopped our particular school. But right before COVID, we were getting a huge positive response, especially people wanting to get their kids involved. And we did have some kid classes here and there, and then there were some younger kids that were just amazing natural martial artists. And so they would come to the kids class. But people were excited that there was an extracurricular activity in the small town of Placencia. But there were a lot of women and obviously parents of young children that were excited to get, especially their daughters, involved, given the learning of self-defense, but just self-confidence as well. And as you had mentioned as well, just that particular fitness. Yeah. And one thing that always drew me towards capoeira, I have a background in dancing, and my dad always wanted me to get into martial arts for self-defense, but I just could never get into other types of martial arts. But with capoeira, not only are you learning martial arts, and it is high cardio because you're constantly moving, but with that, you gain confidence in using your voice because you have to sing. You learn how to play musical instruments, and you also learn another language, Portuguese.
Yeah. Nice. So do you sing while you're doing the moves?
Sometimes. But then if Kevin and I are playing a lot, we're like.
Well, don't worry, you have John. John was already singing for you, right? But Kevin, when you think of how has capoeira impacted you? You fell in love with it in the movie, like most of us did. The difference between people like you and I is I watch it, I'm like, man, that looks great, but I probably could never do it. Yeah. And you found a way to teach yourself, and now you're still practicing all these years later. Why did it become such an integral part of who you are and what you promote?
Well, I think, to me, capoeira has helped me a lot in my life. Again, it's a martial art. Before capoeira, I used to study jiu-jitsu, which is another type of Brazilian martial art. Yeah. When I heard capoeira and the music, I fell in love with the dance. I wasn't a dancer then, but I became one. Oh. And it included drums, it included instrument, it included the beautiful romantic Portuguese language, which is the closest language to Spanish, and I am a Spanish speaker, so I go like, wow, I understand a few words, but I don't know what they're saying, but it sounds really cool. And of course, all the acrobatic movements, and you learn a lot of stuff. It embodies everything. I would say it's like a soul self-defense or game or whatever you want to call it. It's such an amazing art. Yeah. whenever the music hits you, you will never go back the same.
Wow.
It's just like punta.
Yeah,
You don't know.
That's true.
When you listen to punta and you're sitting down by yourself, your body will move. And that's the same energy that comes from capoeira.
Yeah.
That is so. I mean, it looks very difficult. What's the learning curve like for this? I know kids naturally adapt and they might be a bit easier. But if you're teaching, let's say, John, how difficult is it for adults to be able to pick up these techniques?
I think it depends on the background of the adult. So for most athletes, they can pick it up pretty well within a month to 3 months. Those that have never really been into sports, or let's say have not been very active for the majority of their life, it can take about 6 months. But once you hit that curve, because everyone always feels a little awkward.
Yeah.
We all felt awkward when we first started. And so, and that's one thing I really try to create, and Kevin really tries to create, is this environment of being very positive and being very supportive, because there are some people that are like, I just look ridiculous, I'm gonna stop. And it's like, no, but you're doing great. So it's just knowing that, it's gonna feel like you're walking with 2 left feet, but as you start getting the momentum down, just don't worry about that, because all of us were walking with 2 left feet. You'll eventually go ahead and get it there. And I always tell people, it doesn't matter how old you are, and you can be in your early 20s up to your 80s. Back in LA, right before I moved here several years ago, actually one of the students that came to the class when I was teaching over there was one of Bruce Lee's old mentors. He was in his 80s, and he was coming to my capoeira classes. And he has his own studio in Los Angeles, but he started making his students come to capoeira because he was saying most martial arts, they make you just very rigid. But capoeira, because of the movement and because of some of the other moves, it also forces you to be flexible and to actually react to moves against an opponent much quicker because of the constant movement of capoeira. So not only was he coming to learn more about capoeira, but again, he was making his students come to capoeira as well.
And this is actually Bruce Lee, one of Bruce Lee's mentor. Now, guys, so one of the first things to learn with this, wouldn't it be like the dance, the first thing?
Jinga.
Yeah, the jinga would be the first thing to learn before you actually get into the moves, right?
Exactly.
Correct. Okay, all right. So if we would like to, we're in Placencia and we'd like to get a class or so, where can we find you? How can we get to you?
So we have a Facebook page called Capoeira Puzuro Placencia, and so you can message us on Capoeira Puzuro Placencia, and we'll respond to you. Like I had mentioned before, because of COVID, classes have been very sporadic, especially the last several months. But Kevin and we are going to go ahead and start regular classes again starting next week.
Wow. All right.
Okay.
And are folks in Placencia drawn to it? Because it's a beautiful thing to watch.
There have been a lot of people drawn to it, as well as a lot of youth from Standby as well. They love the drumming part because it is very similar to some of the drumming that from the Garifuna culture. And so there's actually been a couple of musicians that have offered to play live drums during our capoeira classes, and so that's something that I really want to look into moving forward in the next couple of weeks as we get back into the regular classes.
Nice.
And finally, from you guys, where do you want to take this in this country?
So we have been asked in San Ignacio, Belmopan. I believe it was right before the pandemic hit. Someone had contacted Kevin from Belize City and teaching monthly classes, I believe. So there is an interest, and we would like to, further the art of capoeira throughout the country, and it'll probably be a slow build, but it would be great if those that were interested in learning and also to be able to teach these classes elsewhere, if they came down to mentor or contact us, and maybe if we're in the area, we can mentor them to start the capoeira classes elsewhere.
Nice.
I personally would even like to see like a capoeira competition in Belize.
Yeah.
Like in Brazil, they do competitions where they make the big rodas and they would start playing and competing against each other. And it would be nice to see some type of gathering after, of course, this pandemic.
Yeah.
To bring a lot of people that know music, want to learn capoeira, want to introduce capoeira to their kids, to their families, even create like a national club where this energy is just like the battle of the drums. It'll be like the battle of the capoeiristas.
Yeah. And it's really interesting to watch. I think that's the key part. So a competition, even if it's kids or if it's adults, you got the music, you got the moves, you'll have all those really wow moments, because those air flips,
I know, right? Like,
yeah. So, and Marissa, I must confess, I've mostly seen men do it. So I'm really interested to see women and young girls do it as well.
Yeah, it's like anything. And I don't know if you guys can see the crocodile in the
we can see it.
Yes, wait, I can't move. Okay. So I'm used to being a lone female in a majority of a men's world, because I also work with crocodiles.
Oh, wow.
So I'm the executive director of the Crocodile Research Coalition based in Placencia. So I'm very big, not only when it comes to the sciences, but also with capoeira, to get more females involved.
Nice.
And one thing that I have been discussing with the young females, and especially the teenagers, is it's unfortunate that we are in a world where sometimes us women, we come into circumstances that aren't the best for us. But by learning martial arts, by learning capoeira, not only will you build self-confidence and be stronger, but you're also just going to be more confident going out into the world, because you have a tool in you to be able to defend yourself if you ever come into a sticky situation.
Yeah.
But I'm very, right before the pandemic, there was actually a group of girls that I was mentoring in Sandbite and teaching capoeira. Again, more, a way to bring an extracurricular activity to them, but also just to gain that confidence and to build up some self-defense skills.
Well, yeah. When you say crocodile research, it definitely makes you sound very confident as well. Confident enough to tackle a crocodile. But no, I make a joke, but you're right. And I think self-defense skills are incredibly important for young women, for everyone in general, but especially for young women. And we do, we look forward to the day when we'll be able to have you all in set and see, you call it play, I don't know, but play capoeira standards, but we really look forward to seeing it in person and hopefully seeing a movement as well. Thank you so much, Kevin and Marissa, for telling us about the restart of your capoeira classes.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
All right, stay safe.
All right, so we're about to take our final break of the morning. When we come back, we'll wrap things up. Stay with us. We'll be back.
Good morning, sweetie. It's time for school.
Are you a teacher or public sector employee who is thinking of owning your new home? Get the keys to your new home with Belize Bank's all-inclusive mortgage, the best financing option in Belize for your new home purchase or construction. Inclusive of all mortgage-related fees, no down payment, affordable terms, amazingly low interest rates. Visit our nearest branch to speak to one of our financial advisors to discuss how you can be one step closer to owning your new home. Some conditions apply.
Introducing Edam A cheese, the A+ Dutch cheese to hit the Belizean market. As the name says, it is of A-class quality. the best Dutch cheese in Belize. Edam A cheese is creamier, less salty, and simply more delicious. Don't be left out. Get your A cheese at a supermarket near you. A cheese, exclusively distributed by Unitex Company Limited. Call us at 610-3626 or 610-8910. Follow us on Facebook at Unitex Belize.
Smart continues to expand its internet coverage countrywide to help you live a smarter life.
Our villagers are very happy. They are pleased to know that Smart went the extra mile to put a tower in our village so that our villagers can get live stream on their TVs and they can get their kids doing their online classes. I want to say to Smart, thank you for making it possible for us to get internet in Gardenia Village. We really do appreciate it.
Smart continues to take the internet and mobile services to communities across Belize. Now save even more when you bundle your Smart broadband with Smart mobile services. Smart, bringing people together.
And we are back. Just like that, we've come to the end of our show.
I'm still hearing the capoeira song in my head.
So
I'm sorry. It's like flashback to your childhood. You know, we were talking about that, watching that movie, and
it was a cool movie.
Yeah.
All the way back
and I
in
thought it was
1993.
really amazing, the moves people did then, and the fact that we have people and children learning in the South. That's pretty cool.
You know, those movies back in the day, as soon as you were finished watching it, you go in the backyard or in the front yard and just practice watching.
No, I
the scene.
didn't.
You
But
didn't do
yeah.
it? You didn't do it?
I mean, capoeira, the viewers just saw the video.
You know what?
You had to have maybe a little kick. That's as much as you could have tried.
Sit on the bench and watch the others do it. But it was a great time this morning. You know, Marlene, the conversation of COVID-19 is definitely one that continues to swirl. We're in a spot right now where the only people that could save, the only way we could save ourselves is by ourselves, you know? And we want for folks to continue to adhere to the protocols. You know, social distancing, wash your hands, make sure that you wear your face masks, sanitize as much as possible. It is very important that we do these things.
Yeah, absolutely. And so key things to remember this morning. One, we must be absolutely careful. There is an increase in cases. Minister Shabat did confirm that a new variant has been detected in Belize, and it is now being tested to see if it is in fact the Delta variant. So that's a very critical reminder there. There will be an announcement of the new campaign, Before You Relax, Get Vaxxed. But there's also the fact that there will be moving towards some increased restrictions as well, given that we've seen a surge in cases. So these are all things to take into consideration. We'll have a full update on that during the course of today on News 5's Facebook page and also in our news tonight at 6. And also that you can also benefit from getting your vaccination. So the serial numbers from your vaccination cards are being submitted for raffles, and those include raffles from Digi, as well as raffles from the BTB,
from BTB. Yeah.
So you can be able to win some fantastic prizes, and why not take advantage of it?
And I'll tell you what, they made it clear that even though you've been vaccinated already, they've got all those serial numbers stored, and so therefore our names or our numbers will actually be in the barrel for these raffles as well. So even though you've taken your vaccine already, you're still eligible to be a part of this. And for those of you who haven't as yet, this is a great opportunity for you to go on out there. Remember, we've got to keep each other as safe as possible. And then again, like we mentioned, learn something new. Capoeira is a great one to start. You could go online and check out some videos and see all these cool moves and enjoy what they've got to offer. But thank you once again. Without you, this isn't possible. You started your morning right by opening your eyes with us this morning. If you've got any questions, any concerns at all, drop us a line at oye@channel5belize.com.
And you can also find us on Facebook at Open Your Eyes BZ and on Instagram at OYEBelize. Remember to tune in tomorrow morning at 6:30 when you open your eyes.
Start your morning right. And as per usual, keep your eyes, your minds,
and your hearts open. We'll see you soon. Enjoy your day, please.
Maculelê é o rei da valentia.
Oh, boa noite pra quem é de boa noite. Oh, bom dia pra quem é de bom dia. A benção, meu papai, a benção. Maculelê é o rei da valentia.
Oi, mas boa noite pra quem é de boa noite. Oh, bom dia pra quem é de bom dia. A benção, meu papai, a benção. Maculelê é o rei da valentia.
Oh, boa noite pra quem é de boa noite. Oh, bom dia.
Open Your Eyes was brought to you by the Belize Bank. Our country, your bank.